I got no beef with NIL. Get the bag. The transfer portal is cool. Pick your spots, do whatever you want to do, freedom of movement. Okay. But at some point, they're going to throw the ball in the air and you're going to have to play basketball. And this month, every year, is the annual reminder of where basketball is on the court. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coach Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today as we analyze the NCAA tournament on our Wind Up Wednesday edition, our favorite administrator, the Old Man Podcast today, Robert Abney. Robert, how are you, sir?
just two guys telling everyone to get off their lawn. I'm great, man.
This is awesome. This is awesome. So in segment one, we're going to talk about the best, worst, and most surprising things we saw in the tournament. Segment two, I'm just going to riff on how much I hate and love college basketball because of some of the things going on. And in segment three, can't leave without talking about the NBA. It's Wednesday. But first, Robert, we're not going to stay up late and cover all of these games. So for this week, we're just going to talk about the best, worst, and most surprising things we saw in the tournament. So what's the best things you've seen so far? Any direction you want.
I'll tell you what, the 11, 12, and 13 seeds had themselves a pretty good tournament, right?
Indeed.
And a big part of that is, they've done a good job of using the portal to build themselves some rosters. And the other thing is let's be honest, they got some old heads on their teams. Those teams, the teams that have been successful, the mid majors, they're older. Kentucky going down to Oakland, Kentucky with a bunch of freshmen, and Oakland, the kid who hit all the 3-pointers, Jack Golke. Did you see he has something like 347 3-point field goal attempts and 8 2-point attempts? That's it. But again, he's a 5th or 6th year guy, so I mean, you got men playing against kids, and that stuff makes a difference, man.
I agree. The best thing I saw from this opening weekend are right with you, mid-major roster building. Hey fans, NIL is cool. I got no beef with NIL. Get the bag. The transfer portal is cool. Pick your spots, do whatever you want to do, freedom of movement. Okay. But at some point, they're going to throw the ball in the air and you're going to have to play basketball. And this month, every year, is the annual reminder of where basketball is on the court. Mm-hmm. And you can have all your All-Americans, you can have your McDonald's, your Burger Kings, you can have all of that. But if you know how to play basketball, you're going to beat people who don't know how to play basketball in a one-and-done situation. They played the laziest zone I've possibly seen in quite some time, and the athletic All-Americans couldn't figure out how to use the short corner. So that was the best thing I saw in opening week, was just, hey, man, it's still about playing basketball, and can I out-execute you? So, Robert, what's the worst thing you saw this week in terms of the opening round of the NCAA tournament?
I will say that there were a lot of games that just weren't real. They weren't real good.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, over and part of it was, and I'm an official, so I'm not gonna complain about the officiating, but I did feel like there was a little bit of excessive physicality in a lot of games, and bad bad basketball, bad shots and bad decisions, and just some games that were just kind of and I think that's one reason why people have talked so much about the women's tournament, because um the women's game is different than the men's game.
Mhm.
The rules are a little bit different, but they play differently because of the lack of, you don't have people, a whole bunch of people anyway, getting up and dunking the ball and stuff. So I think that was the worst of it. There were some games that, you tried to watch them and they were just painful almost.
Yeah. So I got two things. On the court, there is no right way to coach. There's no wrong way. There's a preferred way. But there's just such a lack of trust in coaching. I'm watching a game. Um, and it's funny because you were on the text chain and you weren't watching. And team had the ball, 12 seconds left with their best player. I believe it was Oakland NC State. Well, you had a chance to just play it out. And you've been practicing basketball since October. So you had the ball and an opportunity to let your players just play it out, but you call timeout. You come out of the timeout, you throw the ball in the third row. And I'm like, you call timeout to throw the ball in the third row. That player could have done that anyway. So you
Yeah.
get that situation, and if Coach Adams is there, you hold till 10, make your move at 7, shoot about 3, get a chance to get a rebound and a putback. And if they don't get it, they got to go the length of the floor. I thought that was kind of simple. Call Follerin, and Follerin, who's always my litmus test, he said, well, coach, these guys can't do this, that, and the other, and that's cool. And I said, remember when you played? And he said, yeah, you trusted us. So that was it for me on the court. Off the court, Robert, I got a problem with teams skipping the NIT. I do, because I'm a basketball coach and I love basketball. And if I got a chance and my kids got a chance to play basketball, well, let's go play basketball. And I work for a guy in Tom Dickman who said, we're going to go and we'll play you in a phone booth. We'll play you on a corner. We'll play you anywhere because we like playing and we recruit guys that just, we want to play. So when
Yeah.
you say, no, nah, I'm good, I just have a problem with that. But,
Well,
that's me.
and in addition to that, they changed the NIT. They changed the NIT so that, the regular season tournament champions from all of these smaller conferences that didn't win their conference tournaments had been guaranteed a bid to the NIT, and they took that away
Yes, they
so
did.
that they could add these, Power Five schools and give them an opportunity to continue playing and continue making money. And all of these Power Five schools are like, nah, we're good. And I'm with you. They're thinking about, oh well, we gotta start getting in the portal. You mean to tell me that you cannot, because you do this all year anyway, you can't simultaneously recruit and coach your team? You can't do that? And you have guys who want to leave in the portal? Cool. Okay, who we got? Who we got? Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah, let's go play.
Let's go.
Let's go play. Hey,
Yeah.
so, all right, Robert, what was the most surprising thing you saw opening week of the tournament?
I don't know if it's the most surprising, but I mean, Coach Cal at Kentucky, I mean, once upon a time, his teams were pretty good, and I thought he was a pretty good coach. And you want to talk about somebody who just has not adapted to the modern era of basketball. I mean, he doesn't get in the portal, he doesn't make adjustments. Um, Seemingly simple stuff eludes him and his guys. And I mean, yeah, I guess if you want to go to the NBA, you go to Kentucky and you can go one and done and do that. But if I'm a Kentucky fan, I'm ticked because with all that talent, they can't even win a game in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Along those lines, I'm surprised at the lack of understanding of the quote new era of basketball, even though I don't think it's a new era. We're talking about NIL, we're talking about portal, we're talking about people. Um, I'm surprised that colleges and coaches and players are still doing too much. I mean, when I coached high school, college, you have a set number of roster players. In college, I think you should have a 16-man roster, 8, 9 man rotation, and 20% of your roster should be next level players. 2 or 3 guys should be better than where they are, and you just got them. Okay. 9 to 10 players or 60% of your roster are just that. They're core players. They're here, thick and thin. They're the Will Cottons, man. I love Will. And you need Wills on your team because they're the ones that train up everybody and how to do business the way we want to do business. And then
Mhm.
20% or 2 to 3 players should be guys you develop. They might pan out, they might not, but I'm going to take a risk. And you're in education, I'm in education. Sometimes that risky kid who had a bad life or whatever just had a couple of bad breaks. And if you provide some structure, some accountability, and just a lot of help, man, we're going to be okay. Today is not your tomorrow. So let's get you ready. And it's about fit. So teams are just not finding players that fit what they want to do. And I'm still surprised by so many teams who have just misaligned rosters. That's all.
Mhm.
Misaligned. Why did you get here? Because it just doesn't seem like you're happy. And as you look, as we get all on and on in the tournament, I'm looking for the happy teams. Guys are just happy, happy. You know, and this week, I'm sure we'll see more and more guys as soon as the team ends, season ends in the portal. But man, I chase happy these days, and we encourage people we work with to chase happy too. So
Yeah.
with that, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about why I am just in love and in hate with college basketball, and hopefully Robert can talk me off the ledge. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
Why should student athletes use the CKA SAVE Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA SAVE Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. My man Robert Kills. In segment 2, this is hard for me because Prince wrote a song called I Hate You. And in a line in that song is I hate you because I love you, but I can't love you because I hate you. And a lot of things this week, Robert, just brought out both sides of those emotions to me. And I'm going to start in Texas with SMU. I hate that SMU fired Rob Lanier after only 2 years. Year 1, they won 10 games. Year 2, they won 20 games. Lost 5 out of 6. Okay. Things happen, but you can clearly see the progression in terms of where they're going. They're going to go to the ACC next year. They've got guys on their staff, including their head coach, that have been in Power 5 conferences. This would not be any shock, anything to the system, but they let him go, and it just didn't sit right with me. And as Robert reminds our fans during football season, SMU, if they're 10th, they're lucky. So, Robert, tell me what SMU wants because I'm not understanding.
I have no idea. I mean, because again, you're talking about a team that really has, maybe historically they do, but currently there's no real fandom in Texas. I mean, you don't go to DFW and see a bunch of people wearing SMU stuff. You just don't. I'm assuming that because they're going to the ACC, they're feeling like they got to get a bigger name or something. But SMU has never had, they've never had a basketball profile. I mean, they had Larry Brown for a while. Larry Brown, 206 years old, still coaching people. But he got them to the tournament, twice maybe? And they were, they were fine. But other than that, what do? Nothing. And I guess they felt like they needed to find a name coach, but I don't know what
Looking at Musselman in Arkansas is what media reports are telling me.
Okay. So you're gonna leave the SEC, and he did not have a good year at Arkansas. And I don't know anything about Arkansas, how hard it is to recruit there or anything, but you're going to leave an SEC program in Arkansas so you can go to a first-year ACC program. DFW has players. I mean, there's plenty of guys who can play in Dallas, but you're going to go to a program that has no local footprint whatsoever, no local excitement. I don't understand that thought process at all. But
well, thank you, sir. All right, second thing, UVA, University of Virginia. Stephen A. Smith, we're not hating, we'll watch on occasion, but he said this about Tony Bennett. If it was me, I'd fire him strictly because of being boring. And you know, Robert, how I feel about boring. Literally, I'm not questioning his ability to coach. He's a national champion, but you cannot be that boring and so unappealing for that long. Tony Bennett can coach. There's no doubt about it. Tony Bennett runs a system that is very comfortable for Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett and UVA wins 20 games every year. They had the debacle against UMBC in the tournament. Next year showed resiliency, won national championship. UVA as a school is very challenging. They embrace academics. It's hard to get the willy-nilly student in. It's the best way I can say it. Do they have to make some adjustments? Yes, they can't shoot, can't score, can't put the ball in the basket. But that's a tweak. That's a Phillips screwdriver. That's, you got one or two more shooters, and your shot makers are not shot takers. So my pain is, dang, the guy won a national championship a couple of years ago, and now we've got this changing landscape, and the school itself is challenging and provides some barriers. What are we doing here? So, Robert, what are your thoughts on UVA? Because that's another thing that I'm hating is you got a guy who needs a tweak.
First of all, Stephen A. is noise. That's all he is noise. Virginia's not firing Tony Bennett. I think that, Tony Bennett will be at Virginia as long as he wants to be there. That being said, he's got to get some kids who can score, because the guys he has right now, that you want to refer back to our previous segment about aesthetically displeasing basketball. That Virginia Colorado State game, that was absolutely awful.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to. I mean, I'm not saying that he needs to sacrifice some of his defensive philosophy to find some kids who can score, but you don't win if you don't put the brown thing in the round thing. That's it. You have to score points to win games. So, I mean, they're not firing him. I understand the call. I understand the frustration, but he'll find some scores and they'll be better.
They'll be better. There you go. But speaking of being better, Kentucky. So we talked about it a little bit in segment one, but I want to dig deeper. John Calipari has gone 1-5 in their last 6 SEC tournament games and 1-4 in their last 5 games in the NCAA tournament. Robert, is it time to go? Is it time for Cal to do something else, go somewhere else? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I say yes. But I am not a Cal fan. I've never been a Cal fan. I mean, he's been a good coach, but he has never his one and done dribble drive. His philosophy has not changed, and that's fine, I guess. But folks in Kentucky are not known for being excessively patient, especially when it comes to basketball. And I mean, again, we're talking on our text chain. Oh, well, his buyout is $34 million, and Texas A&M says, and amateurs, we just paid $77 million to make Jimbo Fisher go away. Y'all can come up with $34 million. If they want to get rid of him, they can. I don't know. My guess is he'll probably survive it, but I'm not a fan. I think he needs to go.
So Cal doesn't bother me. I've read his books. I've seen him do his thing, and he can develop players. I mean, they're all over the NBA. But I'm a college guy. I'm a college person. There's things you have to do in college, and we have to transition them and transform them. And he has done a good job of that in terms of the college game. But in terms of identifying talented players, yes, can't take that away from him. If I'm Cal, I want to come back because I'm tired of people talking about me, and it's my fault. So I'd like to see him come back next year and see what adjustments he makes. But again, we're just two guys on the podcast to take my voice comments. Last but certainly not least, to quote the legendary Booker T. Huffman, tell me he didn't just say that. Long Beach State's athletic director said the timing of his decision to fire Coach Dan Monson was done with the hope that it might trigger a run to the NCAA tournament. And here's the quote: "My belief and hope is that by doing what I did and the timing of it, they would play inspired, and that's what they did right before they lost by 20 to Arizona in the first round of the NCAA tournament." Robert, you're my administrator. What are we doing, man?
That guy's a clown. I mean, come on. And I guess I mean, you can do whatever you want. If I'm in his chair and the coach and I have had a conversation about him not coming back, I'm not putting that out until the end of the season. I'm not putting it out there.
They had a press conference, and the dude worked for free all week. It's a Seinfeld episode, is what Coach Sean Monson said.
Yeah. It is. I'm not putting that out there until the tournament is over, and then we have, Coach, thank you so much. Thanks for a magical run. Yada 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 da da da, and we're moving on. Which, I mean, if
it's Long Beach State, you're not winning anything. You're a 1 bid, 2 bid kind of conference. Okay, what do you want? Dude was there 17 years. That's how you treat someone who gave 17 years of their life to you.
Yeah, and I mean, what did he do that was so bad? What did he do that was so bad? And that's really the hard part in athletics, is that when you put in that much time into a program, into a school. I like to think, and maybe this is, pie in the sky type of stuff, but I like to think that, once you do that, you deserve to go on your own terms. And you can make suggestions, as an administrator, you can suggest, but guys like that, they deserve to go on their own terms.
At least let the contract run out. Let it be natural.
Let the contract expire. Say, Coach, we're not extending.
Not going to renew you. So next year will be your last year because we're not going to renew you. Or there's a lot of ways to do this, but as we say every week, it rarely ends well. But when we get back in segment 3, we'll jump into the NBA. Make sure we check the temperature. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the iCoaches podcast in segment 3. Can't leave without the NBA. Number 1 in the OCP top 10, Boston, OKC, Denver, Minnesota. The Bucks are 5, Clippers 6, Cavs 7, New Orleans Pelicans 8, Knicks 9, and the Dallas Mavericks are 10. Robert, in the East, you got the Boston Celtics 1, Bucks, Cavs, Orlando, Knicks, and Pacers. They're your top 6. 7 through 12, Heat, Sixers, Bulls, Hawks, Nets, and Raptors. Raptors are really falling off right now. And Bum City, Hornets, Pistons, and the Wizards. And in our local area, Robert, every time the Wizards win, you can get a Big Mac for $2.50. I'm thinking about making that a running joke because they don't win very much. Hot teams, Boston, Knicks, and the Magic. Any thoughts from the East this week?
Well, I'm still seeing the Boston and the Bucks 1 and 2. But I'm also seeing that the Heat are still kind of lurking around down there. And if they happen to get the 7 seed out of the play-in tournament, and I'm the Bucks, I'm not real happy with that because they just I would not want to play that in should they beat the Heat, yes, but I would not want to play the Heat in a playoff series. So yeah.
So for me, I'm hearing a lot about the Knicks, Jalen Brunson and Villanova guys. This is no hate, but I kind of want to see you in the postseason. Kind of want to see if you can win and advance and move forward, because you also got a team like Orlando who re-upped on their coach. Not a lot of people paid attention to that. They re-signed that guy. And that kid from Duke's playing pretty well. And young legs run free. So kind of thinking about the Knicks and Orlando this week. I'm going to check them out.
Well, and I keep going back to what Candace Parker said. And I still think there's a lot of truth to this in the NBA. It's hard to win a championship if your best player is a small guy. And, you know, people say, oh, Steph Curry is 6'4". You know, he's not small. 6'4" is not small. I'm sorry, it's not. Jalen Brunson is 6 feet tall. He is a really good player. He's fun to watch. But if he's your best player, can you win a championship? I don't know.
We're going to find that out. Let's jump to the West. Top 6, OKC. All right, Mike, they're still number 1, so you don't have to get mad at me. All right, Denver, Minnesota, the Clippers, New Orleans. I am 1 week. I'm sorry, not 1 week. I'm 1 year off that bet franchise. And Dallas, okay, 7 through 12. Suns. Robert, why the Suns still 7? Kings, Lakers, Golden State, Houston, the Jazz. They make up 7 through 12. And Bum City, Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio. Robert, the West have a number of hot teams. OKC, Denver, New Orleans. The Suns are playing well, but they're still 7. Kings, Dallas, and the Rockets are playing well. Any thoughts on the West this week?
No, I mean, you know, Oklahoma City and Denver. I still Oklahoma City is fine. Where they, I mean, you just want to not play Denver until the final. I keep saying that. And the Lakers and Golden State are still hanging around on the fringes of that play-in tournament. Still hoping they can get hot. We'll see about that. I don't know.
Houston is on fire right now. They were 9-1 in their last 10 as of this taping, and Ime can coach, and they're going to keep coaching. And the young players are locked in, and it's hard on these back-to-backs on these 35-year-old, 36-year-old ladies. So I'm watching. I'm watching it that way. So let's see if the Rockets can stay hot. NBA story of the week, and I'm glad I got you here for this one. The G League Ignite is done. So first of all, let's remind fans that the NBA and the NBA Players Association prohibit the drafting of high school players, and that has been the rule since 2005. So complain if you want about the NCAA about a lot of things, but this is an NBA rule. This is not a college rule. Okay. And the new CBA agreement is a 7-year agreement that runs through the 2029-2030 season. So you're not going to change this thing anytime soon. And according to the terms of the agreement, a draftee must be 19 years old and 1 year removed from high school graduation. So that's the rule. So the Ignite started because guys in college couldn't get paid a fair market value for what they do, and they developed players. And again, they got a lot of good players, but now college can pay you. I mean, anyway. So they just said, forget it. We're not going to do this anymore. It is not cost effective, and a number of reasons that Adam Silver talked about and we've mentioned before. Robert, is this a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, if you're looking at it strictly from a cost effectiveness standpoint, was it ever cost effective to start with? I mean, the NBA is running a franchise. It costs money to run a franchise, even if you're running it, you know, on the cheap. And I guess it was fine in the sense that, okay, we're going to give kids who don't want to go to college an opportunity to do so. And we've had kids who have gone overseas and played who didn't want to go to college. And I don't know why those guys couldn't continue doing that. I have really mixed feelings about kids going to college who don't want to go. I have really mixed feelings about that because, I mean, what are they really doing? What are they really doing? I mean, they're getting paid. And because they're getting paid, are you going to be able to make them go to class and do the things they got to do? And they still have to qualify. I mean, I guess they still have to qualify academically.
The eligibility center is just that. You have the right to accept a scholarship if a Division I or Division II school offers you a scholarship, and then they walk away from the table, and it goes back to the individual institution.
I mean, because when I think of kids who benefit from NIL, it is not those kids who are one and done. It's the kids who are really good college players who are not necessarily going to be in the NBA. And those guys, I see those guys maximizing their earning potential, via NIL and via the portal. That's what I see. So, I mean, the Ignite, they're like 2-30 in the G League. I mean, they're not a good G League team. Probably because you don't have anybody who's invested in actually trying to be there and trying to win, I guess. I don't know. The NBA, I mean, they have enough money that if they decided they wanted to, they could run that franchise and make it serve its purpose and not lose money on it if they felt like they wanted to. Yeah. And clearly they don't. So there you go.
Well, instead of standing pat, we're doing something about at least educating people on what's going on. So it's well documented, excited, going to the Final Four this year in Phoenix. Part of the reason why I'm going to the Final Four is because the CKA Save Project is conducting 2 independent research studies, which are an extension of my doctoral work, which was on Division I student athlete motivation. Now we're expanding the study to include Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO. We're not doing high school. I want you to be over 18, so I don't have to talk to you. We're also doing a study on coaching motivation because it's different coaching now than it was prior to COVID, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I'm looking forward to just meeting, interacting with people. And this is not just basketball. It's going to be all sports, but I'm a basketball guy at heart. A lot of great Final Four memories in San Antonio. I saw the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets play in the championship game, thanks to a good friend, Cliff Warren. We saw Follering and George Mason. And to be able to be as close to Follering as I am, and watch George Mason and those guys make that run, them 04s on Florida was great though. And Atlanta, Robert, Atlanta's Atlanta. You need to get there. I'll let that go. There's a Hulu documentary out about how great Atlanta is. Watching basketball in the football stadium, though, is not that much fun. KJ and I will be there, but it should be just a good time. And one of these years, Robert, we got to get you out to a Final Four and just swap some lies and tell some stories.
There you go.
But on behalf of our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. We'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.